everybody, and welcome to Say Report Jr. I am one of your hosts, Dale Decker.
And I'm your other host, Zach Sarowick.
That was probably the cleanest opening we have
Oh
had
man,
since we started.
I had like a panic moment. There was like a part of me that was like, what can I do right now to derail this? And I was like, you know what? It's been 2 weeks. I can't do anything. Like,
Yeah, there was a point too where I was like, should I make this weird? Should I make it a weird opening, or should I just keep
oh
calm?
god,
and
we're the worst.
Keep
We're
calm
the
and
worst.
collected.
All we
It's
want to
okay.
do is derail each other.
It's fine.
Oh
That's
man,
that's how friendships are made, I feel. That's how most of mine were made. Anyways. Yeah, so I feel like I haven't talked to you in forever. I mean, we shouldn't give away the guys or anything, but
we
take
talk
away
outside of this podcast.
take away the magic of it, but I feel like we haven't talked in a long time. Like we've texted.
I mean, that's basically That's
like,
really it. This is our vocal part of our our friendship.
Exactly.
Everything else is like everyone else under 30 right now. All of our our entire friendship exists through text messages.
Pretty much.
But actually, that's a good segue because
Ooh.
I recently spent some time in a place that is trying to give you a certain sense of magic and friendship, but is in the background exhausting and made me want to melt. So just recently, the whole reason that we had our two-part E3 episode is I just recently spent the week in Orlando for a work conference where we sat in a hotel room bouncing between two different ballrooms every hour for different, panel discussion things for like 8 hours at a time.
Oh, God.
With lunch in the middle. But I mean, it really was like we sat down for an hour, we talked about a thing, and then got up and went to another room and did the same thing.
Did they give you lunch, or did you have to go buy lunch?
They gave us lunch.
Okay.
They gave us lunch.
All right.
Very nicely put together, I will say. I mean, for all of them, as much as I'll laugh at my company for this, they treat us very well. But they did spend the entire week basically trying to pretend like we were somehow equal to the Disney company.
That's great.
Which starts with so anybody who's never been to Disney World or Disneyland, there's one very basic conceit you have to make with literally every attraction and ride, and that there is a story to everything. Every roller coaster, every sit-down ride, every show obviously has a story. Like the Great Movie Ride in Hollywood Studios, halfway through that thing, like aliens attack, and
something like
your
that.
your host gets ripped off of the thing, and someone jumps on, someone bad, some villain from some movie jumps on and is like steals your cart, quote unquote, on its prearranged course. So everything has a story. So we go to this convention, and they've got this in this nice big ballroom, nice beautiful screens. Looked like it was better put together than the E3 press conference, the EA press conference.
I knew you were going to say that. I
Here's the
knew
thing,
that's what was coming.
Here's the thing. I also want to tell you that it looks like they spent more money on their opening PowerPoint presentation than Square Enix paid for their 20-minute trailer
That's
video.
Beautiful.
But we sit down, they play this great, this great opening thing. Welcome to the conference. Hey, everybody. Our theme this week is homecoming because, we work with colleges. And then for what I would describe as amateur actors come into the room as the homecoming committee.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God.
The principal, the gym teacher, I think one was just supposed to be a generic professor, and I don't know who the fourth woman was supposed to be. She was just bubbly woman. That's all I know about her. I don't know what character she was supposed to be, like secretary or spirit or something.
She was the spirit of homecoming.
Yeah. Now, and I will say this. So again, first off, think about every stereotypical version of those characters I just described. That's what these were. That's what these, like, the professor had big goofy glasses and bumbled around all week, and the gym teacher woman was way hypersexualized.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. They were those characters all week? It wasn't like a
showed
one and done?
No, they showed up every morning.
Oh, my God.
And every afternoon.
Oh, my God.
And then in between stuff, they were walking around.
Oh.
I hope they were paid well.
Yeah. I was just going to say, because that's dedication.
Here's the thing. So I call them amateur actors. They probably do this all the time, and I have to say, like, they were fantastically goofy. Like that was the cheesiest thing they ever could have
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
And God, I just hope they were paid well because I cannot believe they got them to do this for like 3 days straight. But
Jeez.
they were great.
That's crazy.
So
That's
that was
great.
that was how this thing opened. Then one of the nights they took us into they actually got us into Epcot, which was really nice of them. They did the whole thing where they
Nice.
snuck us in the backstage area to get into Epcot, where it was like, oh, don't take pictures, you'll ruin the magic for everybody.
Mhm.
But sneak us in through the back, go into one of their little conference rooms things. Again, major setup buffet, all very nice.
Nice.
Did some awards, did some speeches, all very corporate, lovey-dovey. Hey, we're such a great company thing.
Did you get a
Then
award?
I did not.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there is. Oh God, I wasn't going to tell this story, but I'm going to tell it now.
Oh God.
So there is an award that they give out. I'm not going to say the name is very funny, but I'm not going to say it. I don't want to make fun of my company the whole time. That just seems rude. But the guy that this award is named after was there. And it's like
Nice.
him and like I have no idea why they decided to name this award after him, but I think it's the the grand managers who go above and beyond get this award every few years, and like his two sons still work for the company and all this stuff.
Oh wow.
So he comes out escorted by Mickey. Mickey Mouse comes out with him. Old guy, gotta be in his 90s, wearing the standard old guy in Florida outfit of a pink polo and bright white pants.
Oh my God.
And then comes out on stage and he says, they told me I can't talk very long because we all want to get to dinner, so I won't take up too much of your time. As Winston Churchill once said,
Oh God.
a speech should be like a woman's skirt, short enough to be interesting, long enough to cover the important stuff.
Oh my God.
And I turned to a friend of mine,
Oh my God.
and we melted into our chairs because we could not believe we had just heard that said in front of a crowd full of 1,200 people.
Oh my God. Wow. Wow. Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Oh,
That's
but
ridiculous.
so that's how it opened.
Oh wow.
Then
And everything just went.
they did the chorus, they did their speeches. Then we had dinner, very nice, open bars,
Nice.
great.
Well, there you go.
They paid for the booze, and then
It's Disney. They should.
the lights go down, and 3 people walk out on stage, and I realized what's about to happen until I got up and went to the bathroom.
Hey, good.
Because I was like, oh, they're about to do some sort of Disney sketch because nothing in Disney can happen. I think it's a rule at this point. Nothing can happen on Disney property without a skit.
Oh no.
So,
Of course not.
so I go into the bathroom. I'm not paying attention to anything. I have no idea what's going on. I walk into the bathroom. I come out again, and I realize what they're doing is the story of our company's founder matched up to the story of Walt Disney.
Oh my God.
Basically saying, look, we're 150 years old.
What the
Disney is 100
hell?
years old. We're like the same thing. It's like the same thing, guys.
I feel dirty.
What you're feeling is the entire night I had. And so I go back to my table and I sit down and I turn to my friend again and I say, this thing ends in a freaking song. I'm running out the door screaming. And literally a beat after that, music starts to swell.
No! Oh.
Oh, and they
Oh my
sing.
God.
They sung a song. They sung a song. They sung a song. I can't even. I don't know. It wasn't a famous song. It was not. No, this was a specific.
Like they wrote
written
it for this
and-
conference.
or written for if you have a work conference at Disney, we will put on this sketch that compares you to Walt Disney and then sing this song afterwards. Like I could just as easily be like, see them being like, oh yeah, Comcast wants to have a thing here. Okay, yeah, let's talk about how Comcast is Disney World and sing a song about how they're.
How produced was this? Like, were there dancers? How produced? I need to
No, it
know.
was the 3 people. It was the 3 people on stage. Again, these were, I'm assuming, Disney employees at this point as actors. So good acting. Basic set, like a there was like Disney's writing, drawing desk for
Yeah.
who he draws Mickey, and then like a basically like a chair and a lamp and a hanging coat rack,
Jeez.
basically on the other side of the stage, and yeah. Oh God.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, and then in
Well.
all of this, it's 100 degrees and 90%
Oh.
humidity. So,
Jeez. Wow. Well,
so that was my week. Like that
that's
was my whole week.
that's fun. I I, I mean, wow. I don't even know. I don't even know if I have a comment for that. You know that people in the audience loved it. You know that
Oh,
like
oh,
there
yeah.
were there were
There
people who
people
were
out
like,
there
"Oh
that
my god, Disney! Oh my god, our company! Oh my god, it makes sense."
my
like
favorite thing was that at a couple of the a couple of the conferences back at the hotel, like in the middle of like, oh, here's the guy, here's like one of our CEOs, or here's one of our digital executives, or all that, as they're
Yep.
talking, the actors were coming out to interrupt, clearly very staged, but also our execs had no idea how to handle that
Nice.
situation.
Nice. I
Where
kind
so
of
it's like,
wish I kind of wish our conference was streamed somehow
oh my
so I could
God,
watch
just
it.
to watch, like one of our vice presidents of like our like clothing and like stuff that's not textbooks, like that VP is
Yeah.
standing up on stage trying to talk about selling stuff, and then this the bubbly woman just comes out and is like giving her this whole really bad shtick on, I made this really cheesy looking hat with flowers taped to it, and you should sell this in your store. Hey, why don't you sell this in your store? And the VP's looking at her like, I don't, if I was given a line, I don't know what it is,
Oh
because I
my
need to get out of
god.
this situation right now.
Oh wow. Well, that sounds
Oh,
like a fun week.
all
Um
in all, perfectly fun week, but oh my God. Oh, oh man.
wow.
And then of course all of this was like bookended by massive amounts of driving and hours of
Oh
airplane
yeah.
rides.
Yeah, that
Uh,
sucks.
but it did allow me to go to the movies a couple of times, which we're gonna get.
Yay, movies.
But before we get into the big movie stuff, because one of those movies I think we're going to talk about for like the whole back half of this episode.
Yeah.
How have you been for 2 weeks?
I've been good. I finished. I think I mentioned that I started and I picked up Kirby Star Allies for the Switch a
Mm-hmm.
while back. I finally finished it, completed the whole game, beat it. Like the main story, you know. And oh my god, it was like it was the most fun I've had with a video game in a long time. Like, and the final boss felt like a final boss. Like, not to give too much away, but there are those. It like goes through the tiers of like there's like 4 tiers. It's like, okay, so now what do I have to do? What do I have to do for this one? What do I have to do for like? It's just
Which mechanic
yes,
do they want me to use for this,
exactly.
and then switch out? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very, very easy boss. Like, it's an easy game. But it was just, it's beautiful. Like, the battle, the animation of the final battle is amazing. And then, like, that, and in the game, like, I started tearing up because it's just, again, so beautiful how it's animated, and, like, Kirby is just so happy, and, like, it's just, aw, I want to play more. Like,
Sounds like a beautiful, beautiful little ball of sunshine.
and it's great. It's great. Now, I've never really played a Kirby game before. Like, really, like, I've played very small amounts of Kirby. This was the first Kirby game I completed to, like, the end. From memory. I could be wrong. Maybe, like, I'm forgetting something. I know Devin and I played something together. I don't remember the name of it. I know it was I know Devin and I played a co-op Kirby game together. But I don't think we ever finished it. I don't remember finishing it. So that accomplishment felt really, really good. But and then I don't know if this is like the true for the rest of the games, but while the credits are rolling, bad guys, like villains start showing up, and then you compete against the allies that you have collected through the game to get the most points of killing the villains during the whole credit scene. So it's like you still get to play, and I'm like, this is great. I lost, which sucked.
You won the game, but you lost the credits. I'm sorry.
I lost the credits. I lost their computer, and you know that brings you down a peg. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of tough losing the end credits battle of Kirby
Oh.
Star Allies. But then you know what is also cool is that once you finish it, once you beat the first, it basically you get two more areas open up within that main story. But then you also get access to a boss rush, and you
Oh,
can
jeez.
use any ally that you've collected in the game. Plus, there are not you can use any ally that is available to you in the game. Plus, there are villains that are allies too. So like King DDD, you can play as. You can play as oh, why can't I think of the name? The Knight guy. Oh, why can't I think of
Oh,
his
Meta
name?
Knight.
Meta Knight. Thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
I only know that from Smash Brothers.
yeah. So you can play as Meta Knight. You can play as Marks, who I don't really know much about, but he's like a little pink guy with like a jester hat.
Okay.
He has quickly become one of my favorites to play as in this boss rush mode. You can, but like, there's a whole bunch of villains like throughout the Kirby games that you can play as because you can friend them within the game as well. So
Right.
there's that whole boss rush mode, but then there's like a speed run mode where again you can play as any character from the game that the allies, the villains, you can play as Kirby. The difference being is you're not playing as Kirby, who has
Right.
just taken the ability over in the speed run. You're actually playing as the little ally. So I did a speed run, quote unquote, a speed run. It took me like an hour. It was an hour completion. Um, you basically play through the entire game. There's some things that are left out. I don't remember specifically what was in it and what wasn't, but it's pretty much you play through the entire game again, and you get speed boosts, you get health boosts, and you get attack boosts. So you're not collecting anything special except for those, really. And yeah, so I played through as Birdon, who was just like this little aviator looking bird, and it was so cool because you were able to still friend the villains, and I'm like, this is amazing. And it was great, and it felt like it was like the first time I ever really did a speed run of something. But it was cool that it was like part of the
Built
game.
into
It
the
was
game,
built
right.
into the
Yeah.
game, and I'm like, that more games should do this because the speedrunning community has grown huge. I don't know how big it was before, but since Devin has started doing these speedruns of Zelda and doing all that, like, I have noticed it become huge. I mean, you have games done quick. You have the winter and the summer games done quick. Like, it's huge. So more games should incorporate a speed run option at the end when you beat the game. And people would love it. People would go crazy over it. I know I did for Kirby. It was great. So I definitely recommend that game. Go play Kirby Star Allies. It's super fun. It is like I said, the most fun I've had with a video game in a long time. Yeah.
And we're all just trying to find something to play on the Switch right now. So
Pretty
that sounds
much, like,
perfect.
well, that was the thing. Like, so I had Kirby, and then I also had Pokemon Quest, which I haven't really been playing Pokemon Quest that much. Every now and then I will go in and see if there's a new Pokemon like in my base, and
Right.
if I have time, I will just like run through some of the expeditions and whatever. But like that and Kirby really made me fall back in love with my Switch. Like, I keep saying that. And Kirby has given me enough things to focus on that it will bring me to, like, no doubt in my mind, it will bring me to Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. And then I'll have
Nice.
that to occupy. Like, so I'm very happy that I picked up Kirby because, like I said, I didn't touch my Switch at all until that game came out. Like, I touched it maybe like for that first week I had it, and I'm like, this is boring. I just wasted $300 on a system that it just sucks. But
See, for me, I loved it the whole first year, and then it's been such kind of a slow second year because they spent so much of their first party currency,
Yeah,
trying to
exactly.
get people interested in that first year. But
Yeah.
that's good. That's good. I'm glad that you found that, and it seems to be very
Yeah.
joyful for
Oh
you.
yeah. And yeah, I was just trying to finish the boss rush mode again, and it's like, ugh, it's difficult. Like I can't. I'm almost got 100% on that on the game file that I have, but this one boss rush mode I cannot get through. But I will. I know I will. I know I will because Marx is super broken. Um, aside from that, I also went to a drone photography course. Um, like drone
Right.
piloting photography course, and
That
that
was
was
just an
really cool.
unexpected sentence that came
Yeah,
out
I
of you.
know. Yeah, I know. It was, and I also kind of just threw it in there, because
Uh,
I don't have that much to talk about. It was basically what it sounds like. It was a drone photography course. We learned basically the basics. Basically the basics. Hey, grammar 101 by Dale Decker. um, yeah. So it was. We didn't get to fly the drones or anything. It was just sitting in a classroom, well, in like a conference hall, and it was basically, here are all the basics. Here are some apps that you should use if you're going to be flying a drone. Here's the way to use it for mapping. Here's a way to edit your photos to make them look way better than they're going to come out with your drone. Like, so it was really cool. And I want a drone now, but they're so expensive. So that was it. That was basically my week. And then a bunch of movies. A bunch. Like, when I say a bunch of movies, a bunch of movies.
I ended
Like
up
10
watching
movies.
I ended up watching a bunch of movies after the movies I watched. So, saw Ocean's 8. We're gonna get into that. Oh
Yeah.
my God, we're gonna get into Ocean's 8
Yeah.
because it's yes, yes. But what actually happened was because of Ocean's 8, I decided I wanted to rewatch the original. I shouldn't say the original. I didn't watch the Rat Pack one, but the three Soderbergh Ocean's movies,
Yes.
which so I was doubly angered on the plane coming home because I sat down and like the United flights have
Yeah.
direct TV on them.
Yep.
And so I sat down and I was like, "Oh, cool. The Ocean's movies are on TNT just like running right now. I've
Uh-huh.
got a 3-hour flight. That's two of those movies. And also, hey, look at that. Ocean's 13 just ended and they're starting Ocean's 11 again. This is perfect." Then I plug my headphones in
Oh no.
and all I
Oh
could
yeah,
hear
I
was
remember.
music. I could
Yeah.
not hear any dialogue. It was
No.
like I have no idea. Like if I sat there and I like forced the headphone jack into a certain angle and held it with my hand there, I could just kind of get real sound out of one of my headphones. Like that was how bad this headphone jack was.
That's bad.
And I'm dealing with that because again, I mean, these are movies I've seen before, so it wasn't the end of the world. It was
Yeah.
2 hours, whatever. And then the plane goes to take off, and the screen goes blank and says, "Your free preview has ended. Pay us money if you want to keep
What?
watching."
No.
Like here's five movies that you can watch for free, but none of them are the TV channel that you were just watching.
Oh
You can't.
no. What were the free movies, if I may
It was like
ask?
Wrinkle in Time, Black
Oh,
Panther,
oh, okay.
Game Night, all the recent stuff
Did
that they
you
were
wa-
sticking up.
Did you watch Game Night? You should have
I
watched
didn't
Game
have a
Night.
lot of time, and because of the headphone jack, like I
Oh,
didn't
true.
want.
Yep.
That's not how
I
I wanted
completely
that to
forgot
be the
about the
first
headset.
time I watched that movie.
I got
Like if
so excited about Game Night, I completely forgot that you didn't have a
it
working
sounds,
head
it does like I
headphone
have heard nothing
jack.
but great things about that movie. I
It's
want to
so
watch
good.
it, but I want
Oh,
to watch. I don't. Did
oh, you just cut out a little bit.
I? Am I back?
Yeah, yeah, you're back now. So what did you
Okay.
say?
Okay. I if I'm gonna watch Game Night, I'm gonna watch it like right. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, exactly. I
I'll
hear
watch
what
it.
you're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah.
So I did eventually, when I got home, decided to watch them because I mean they're like, unfortunately, you have to rent them. They're not like streaming on Prime or anything,
Yeah.
but you can rent them for like $3 a pop. So decided to watch those, and I had never seen Ocean's 12 before. I actually
Oh,
liked it more than I thought I would,
yeah.
mostly because I think we're years and years removed from that movie getting a bunch of crap. Um,
Yeah, no.
although the Julia Roberts scene is awkward, I will say that it could have been better, but it was not like
Oh,
it
I
didn't
love the
break the
Julia.
movie for me.
I love the Julia Roberts scene.
I think
It's
it works. Like I think
the
it works. I think it makes sense in that movie where they're just like, we need oh, we need someone who looks like a famous person to do this thing. And it's either they spend the movie setting that up with a fake celebrity, or you just take Julia Roberts and say, hey, you're pretending you're Julia Roberts now.
I
Like
mean,
it's really the only two ways to write that scene anyway.
it is something
So,
that I have that I I've always wanted to happen in movies, and I mean, I had never seen Ocean's 12 since like maybe 2 months ago, and it was something that I've always been like, oh, it'd be so funny if like they just made a joke like about Zac Efron or something, being like, hey, you look really familiar, like have I seen you in like a song? Like, do you sing? Like, it would be super. Like, I don't know. Those are the things that I want in movies. And then it happened, and then Bruce Willis is there, and he's like,
Yeah, see, I didn't know
Julia?
that about that scene. I had no idea that there was another celebrity in that scene the whole
Yeah.
time.
Neither did.
And that works so well
Mhm.
of just like, oh yeah, no, other famous person that knows this famous person. Perfect. Perfect.
Exactly. It was great. Also, ever since I watched that movie, Fabergé eggs are everywhere. Everywhere.
Oh man, that
It's
so
crazy.
so watched all of those. Still pretty much hold up. I think when we get into the talk about Ocean's 8, there's a couple of things I think translate I think don't hold up, but I want to talk about them in context of Ocean's 8.
I
But
got you.
before all of that, I after 6 hours on planes and knowing that I had a 3 hour drive home, I didn't drive the 3 hours home. I waited 2 hours for a showing of Will You Be My Neighbor instead,
That's okay.
the Mr. Rogers documentary. So I got home at like 3 o'clock on Friday morning
Oh
instead of at
gosh.
midnight because I was like, yeah, because I was like,
Wow.
I'm
I
so
want to see
exhausted.
this.
Yeah, I was like, I'm so exhausted. I need something to keep me going. You know what'll make me feel better? Just a feel good 2 hour documentary about Mr. Rogers and the fact that he was just a nice dude. Oh, it's so sweet.
Is
And it's
it
such a nice,
good?
it is. And like, I'm sure that there are people that are going to watch it and be like, oh my God, it's just such a poppy feel good documentary. It doesn't give
Yeah.
you any deep, dark secrets, but they try really hard to explain to you. It's because there aren't any
Yeah.
deep, dark secrets.
Yeah.
Like it's very much an emphasis of like this is who he was. This was not a sham. This was not he wasn't scamming people. He
Yeah.
wasn't hiding from some deep dark past. He was just he was a
Really
guy
nice
who got
guy.
ordained and he wanted to help kids and he struggled like they talk about the fact that he struggled to be an open person in real life, and that's why he had puppets and a kid show where he could talk about his feelings because that was like
Oh.
his way of dealing with that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all very sweet, and they get into other other things. There was the mail not the mailman, the cop,
Yeah.
and that Clemens is it was such a huge thing that in the 60s he had a black man on
Yeah,
screen.
exactly.
The actor was also gay
Mhm.
and got spotted at a gay nightclub one night, and he like Fred Rogers had to come to him and be like, you can't do that, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
because PBS won't let us keep you if you do that. So like, and
Oh wow.
they talk about the fact that it took him years to get okay with this guy's homosexuality, and so it's like it's not they never try to say that he's a perfect dude.
Yeah.
They just try to be like, but he was nice. He was the guy on TV.
Yeah.
You don't have to feel bad liking Mr. Rogers, basically. And it was just such a nice, like, warming thing to be like, oh, perfect.
Nice.
Now I'm going to go drive home through the middle of the night.
Oh god. Oh, jeez. Wow. Well, there you go.
I love living in the desert. So,
That's great.
all of that is said and done. I also saw Ocean's 8 right before my flight because I had to stay at a hotel the night before because I had an early flight, which is
Yep.
annoying. So I got to see Ocean's 8. And I know you saw Ocean's 8,
I
and I know
did.
that we've been waiting for a long time to talk about Ocean's 8.
Uh-huh.
So,
I've seen it
let's
twice.
start with of course you have. So let's start with you gushing about Ocean's 8 because I think I'd explode if I don't tell.
Jeez, like it was so good. I'm so happy that it worked and that like cuz people they were so annoyed. They were so like, "Oh, it's not going to work." Blah blah blah. It's just and we're coming from like the I don't know, the back end or whatever of all these other reboots that are coming out like that are all female and doing all that, and so I feel like it was getting all this shit put on it, and it's like, but no, like it's so much more than that. It just the good thing is that it's a sequel. Okay? That's where I'm going to
Right.
start with this. That is where it's not trying to remake the wheel. It's not trying to reinvent the wheel or anything like that. It is literally like we still exist in this world. And we're
in
just
in
we're
the
just
best
gonna
way possible,
in the
too.
best way. Yes, exactly. exactly.
And the best joke
Like,
running through it of just here's a picture of George Clooney that we're just gonna be like, is he dead?
is he dead?
Yeah,
Is he?
maybe.
Meh.
Yeah,
No
eh.
one freaking knows. But it's just like it. I'm so happy that it was a sequel and not a reboot. Like, we can talk
Right.
about Ghostbusters all we want. If people like, it's not a great movie. Like, it's not a great Ghostbusters movie. Whatever. I still enjoy it, but I understand why people hate it because it was basically trying to do this thing that you can't really do with these iconic films. Like, you can't. Like, it's different. You can, but
But
you
it's a hard needle to
need.
thread. It
It's
is a hard needle to
yeah,
thread.
especially like not to be this person, but especially when you're trying to reboot Ghostbusters with an all-female cast, and one of the strongest performances is from a male. Because Chris Hemsworth is fantastic in that movie. And it's like, I like that movie. Kate McKinnon is also fantastic in that movie, too. So, like, I rewatch Ghostbusters 2015, Answer the Call, basically because of Chris Hemsworth and Kate McKinnon. And it's like, that's kind of sad. But this was, and they really made a point with that one scene of where, I shouldn't have to say it. Exactly.
Sorry. Yeah.
I
Spoiler
shouldn't have
alert.
to say it
Obviously,
anymore.
we've already made the joke about George Clooney, but yes,
Exactly.
this is going to be a very spoiler-heavy
Like-
thing because we're going to talk about some things with this movie that I love, but
Exactly.
we'll spoil the movie.
So
Ugh.
it's perfect too because it didn't make the fact that they are women the forefront of the movie, if that makes sense. It was just, we're women. We're doing this. We're a group of women. And they explain why. And it's great. That explanation of
Exactly.
of Debbie talking to Lou, going, and Lou's like, what about him? He's great at this. He's a great hacker. And she's like, no, he's a him. I don't want a him. And then Lou is like, well, is it because he's a him or is it because he's a him? And she goes, no, hims get noticed, herds get ignored. And right now we want to get ignored. Like,
right. It took the idea of how we look at and treat women in our society and went, you know what that means? It would be really fucking easy for them to rob you because you don't treat women well enough.
Exactly. Like, it's just like, yeah, and we're badass. Like, we're still badass. We can still, like, it just, I'm all for girl power. But, like, when it's right there in your face and, like, punching you in the face with it, you gotta let people enjoy it. That's when you get the hate. That is when you just, listen, we're here. We're a group of females. We're a group of badass females who are about to rob this place. That's when you get the acceptance, unfortunately. Like, I don't know. Like, that might just make me sound like a jerk, but if you're
there's a difference between. I also think there's a difference between. And we talked about this with Overboard. There is a difference between trying to doing a sequel or remake or reboot or whatever from the Ocean's franchise, which was big when it came out, but is also just like kind of just part of movies now, and that's it. Like, people don't go to bat to be huge fans of the Ocean's 11 Steven Soderbergh movies.
Yeah.
They don't. They enjoy them when they're on TV, but they don't go out of their way to make huge. No one's cosplaying as Danny Ocean at a Comic-Con.
Now I'm gonna. Or Debbie Ocean.
But yeah, but they will for the Ghostbusters, and so it's like you're talking about a very different set of fans you're working with and things you can kind of work you're working in a different wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I think with the Ocean's movie versus Ghostbusters and stuff
definitely. Yeah, and it's so cool that it really, I don't know. There are those moments where, you have Rihanna and you have Aquafina, whose characters' names are Nineball and Constance.
Constance, yeah.
Yes. So you have them, and it's like they aren't, quote unquote, and I'm talking in society terms, they aren't your typically they don't dress like Debbie Ocean. They don't, they're not wearing the most makeup in the world, And it's just but even at the end, they're dressed beautifully. So it's it's not the fact that they're women that is doing, I don't know. It's like it just works. It just works.
Yes, it does. It absolutely does. It
It's like
also there are also little bits and pieces of story and little scenes and stuff that definitely call back to the Ocean's 11
yes,
specifically.
yeah.
Starting with, the opening scene is her coming out of prison, which is, very much like how Ocean's 11 opens. But the one that made me laugh the most, so, it's a big kind of joke about the Ocean's films that Brad Pitt is eating in basically every scene.
Oh, yes.
And in Ocean's 8, they're all eating
Yep.
every other scene, and
Yep.
they're eating garbage. That's what I thought. That's what
Yeah.
I noticed when I was watching them. I was like, wait, they're all eating like they're eating Chinese food, then they're eating Subway, then
Mhm.
they're like in a hot dog like
Yeah.
midnight hot dog place. Like there is not a scene. The one time that you have someone eating like traditionally female, high posh, low calorie food is when Daphne eats the soup and it makes her puke because
Puke.
they put the stuff in it.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's like it's that thing of I'm trying to like think of how to get this out without just being
It's a
word
subtlety.
barf. It's this
Yeah.
subtlety, but it's also like, yeah, women don't have to be perfect. Like, get that out of your goddamn head. Like, we can be awesome and badass and eat pancakes every day if we fucking want. You know? Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just like, and they have this confidence that is just, it's so good.
Yes, and oh my God!
Like,
So one of
they
the
have,
one of the
uh,
criticisms articles that kept coming out after this came out, and that made me so freaking mad, is that everything goes according to plan in this movie in a way that is so.
oh,
I mean, it's perfect, and it's again
but
because the audience doesn't know what's happening, it pulls you through the whole time.
exactly. But it's
That's never
also,
the thing. But everybody's like, oh, but a bunch of women working together. Why aren't they all mad at each other? Oh, this one's trying to screw
yeah,
her ex-boyfriend. Why isn't that more of a thing? Dude, I just watched 3 movies of emotional dudes stealing stuff because
exactly.
they're sad.
Yep,
Like Ocean's 11 is all about Danny Ocean trying to screw over his ex-wife's new boyfriend.
exactly.
And it's like, and
Exactly.
also Ocean's 11 specifically, every single part of that movie is crafted. There isn't a single thing in
Yeah,
that movie that goes quote unquote wrong.
wrong. No.
Like,
But it's also people who are saying that clearly did not watch the movie at all.
no,
Because she was in prison. She explains that she had all of this time. She had 5 years. What is it? 5 years.
3 of them in solitary because she got sick of people.
Exactly. It was like I don't remember the numbers. I think it's 5 years,
Oh, she gives
13
the
days,
exact.
13 months and 8 days or something. And it's like, yeah, if you're stuck in prison that long, you're gonna have a flawless plan. You're
It's
gonna
also
know every twist and turn. Also, this is what you do. This is basically her job.
it's
And
also
she's good
technically
at it.
not a flawless plan because Daphne figures it out.
Exactly.
Anne Hathaway's character comes in and has already clearly had a conversation with Debbie and Lou at some
Mm-hmm.
point that we didn't see, but they do explain that she figured out what they were doing.
You
They
know?
had that conversation because she figured it out. So
Yeah,
it was not a
exactly.
flawless, perfect plan because they
Mm-hmm.
weren't expecting her to be as smart as she is.
Exactly. Yeah, no, and then
So,
she's like, "Yeah, I'm not that dumb." Like
yeah. And she
clearly.
also she also says that she's doing this because she just really needed friends,
Exactly.
and I love that idea.
Yep.
It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm almost 30. I understand.
What
Down
was
down with that.
it was also cool cuz like no, this wasn't cool. I want to get back to this before I
Okay.
go into the other cool stuff cuz this was one thing about it that pissed me off. And it wasn't even about the movie. It was about the marketing for the movie
Okay.
in that the trailers and the promo pictures and all this freaking marketing shows the scene at the end where they're in the subway and Anne Hathaway is standing with
You're
them.
right. See, in my head, because again, I don't watch a lot of trailers. Like I might have watched the original one when it
Mhm.
came out, and I had seen that photo because
Yeah.
that was like the first marketing photo they put out.
Yeah.
So in my head, that was not a scene in the movie. That was a marketing photo that they were like doing a photo
That's
shoot
what I
as they
thought
started.
too.
That was all in my head, and I just ignored anything else that would tell me
Yeah.
otherwise.
That's what I
So
thought
like,
too.
I went into this movie having no idea that she was not part of the plan
Mhm.
until the very end. As far as I knew, she was part of it the whole time.
Nope. Yeah.
So the fact that they were just like, "Oh no, she just figured it out, and they had to improvise at the end. That was great.
Yeah,
It's like, oh,
so
okay, perfect. Okay, this is good.
I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, okay, it's just marketing. Obviously, Anne Hathaway is in this movie. Whatever, she's part of the ploy. But then I saw the trailer where she's Daphne and they're going through and they're like, we're going to steal this off of her, blah, blah, blah. And then the trailer ends with that subway. So it's put into a different context. And it's like,
Absolutely.
God damn. Like, Devin, I remember when I figured it out. Devin like covered his ears and closed his eyes and everything so that he wouldn't see a trailer, and I was like late to the draw, so I'm like, I'm already watching it, like I already hear this stuff, and then it happens and I lean over to him. I'm like, I am envious that you were able to cover your eyes and ears because I am so upset right now. And then I wrote in my phone as a note, and I'm like, Ocean's 8 prediction, Anne Hathaway is in on it the whole time, which I wasn't right and I wasn't wrong, but the whole time I was watching the movie, I was like, she's definitely in on it. Like, she can't not be in on it somehow. And yeah, so
No, but I love the fact that like her position in that movie is to be, I mean, she's the celebrity, so she is like exactly placed as the person who is supposedly how women are seen in our society. Like, she, first off, perfect casting of Anne Hathaway. When Anne Hathaway was in Dark Knight Rises and then Les Mis, I actually clearly remember people who just for no reason at all decided they hated Anne Hathaway because she was everywhere and she was perfect and she could do no wrong. And it's like, okay, well, what you're experiencing is that you just hate her because she's a successful woman, I guess, is your problem. Because we all remember Princess Diaries. We all love Anne Hathaway. Yep. Anne Hathaway is adorable. And I've loved everything. I've never seen Anne Hathaway do a bad job. I mean, I have no idea. I mean, Princess Diaries 2 is a whole other thing, but she was good in it.
Hey, Princess Diaries 2 is fantastic!
But I thought that she was a perfect casting choice for like, oh, this is what a classical female celebrity is these days, is Anne Hathaway. Like, she perfectly personifies that. And so, through the whole movie, she's concerned about what she looks like, and she's concerned about how she's going to be seen, and she's really cocky about knowing all of the jewels and everything.
But you know what?
And then she walks in and she's just like, yeah. And I own that. I own that because that is who I am, and I'm a badass because of it. She never actually has to apologize for that. All she wants is friends. Otherwise, she never says that. Like, she never hates her life. No. She just is lonely.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, she never has a problem with the way she lives her life, which I think is also really, really cool that they don't all of a sudden decide to be like make her like super sympathetic in any way.
You know what I like though too is that she is like that, showing off. Like I've definitely worn the trousseau and everything. Like I just punched my mic. Like showing off when she's showing off the jewels and blah blah blah. But it's like there's that moment in the beginning where they're at that little press conference or whatever, and she's wearing like a mini dress, like a Minnie Mouse dress.
Yeah.
And for lesser, there are better ways of describing it. Really not. But anyways.
But, I mean, red and poofy. A red poofy dress of some kind.
Exactly. But there is that moment where a reporter is like, who's dressing you for the Met Gala? And she was like, I don't know yet. But, it's fine. Like, I'm going through. And then she was like, no, but who's dressing you? And then she gets like that stern moment where she's like, I don't know yet.
Yeah.
Stop hounding me. Like,
I'm not fucking
control.
Lying to you.
Exactly.
I'm not like two-facing you or anything.
And the way she takes control of that situation, and the way that like the fact that she doesn't know who's dressing her, kind of says two things about her character in a way, because it could be like, oh, she just hasn't found the perfect person to dress her, which is basically really it. But it could also on some level be like, I don't really care.
Right, she's too snobby to care to actually
exactly,
making it.
Right. I don't care. I just know that I'm going to the Met Gala and that you're pissing me off right now by asking these questions. And she just has that coolness to her when she answers it too. Like, that scene I freaking loved. And I'm sure a lot of people were like, wow, she's a bitch. And I'm like,
right.
But
and I think it's perfectly crafted.
So.
Right. I think it's perfectly crafted to be read both ways. It is
Exactly.
perfectly
Yeah.
crafted to be read both ways.
Yeah. I
Oh man.
but oh man, it was really good because it's one of those, like I said again, it has that, girl power femininity without being, hey, look at us, like we're feminists, we're going to do this, like we're better than men, blah 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 blah. It's just it's like it normalizes it in a way, which is what
Yeah.
needs to happen. You just need to
Right. This was a movie
show
that treated its female cast as human beings in a way that
exactly.
was not trying to be like
Exactly.
we're taking over this all male franchise. Which,
Mhm.
as someone who just watched those three movies, I can tell you those are some real sausage fests of movies.
Oh yeah.
Especially 13. 13
Oh.
gets rid of Julia Roberts and Catherine Zeta-Jones, who
Yep.
showed up in Ocean's 12. And just has the one woman whose entire job is to basically get drugged by Matt Damon for like 20 minutes
Yeah.
of that movie. Like, oh my God, is it?
Yeah.
Ugh, it's a little bad, guys. It doesn't hold up after 10 years. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But yeah, and it was really nice. This is and that scene where Debbie is looking in where Sandra Bullock, Debbie, if you don't know who the people playing are, Sandra Bullock plays
Debbie
Debbie
Ocean.
Ocean.
Yeah.
When she's looking in the mirror and she's getting ready
Yes.
for the heist, and she's like, we are not, she's like, first of all, I want to thank you. Whatever goes wrong, whatever happens tonight, I just want to thank you. And remember that we are not doing this for me. We are not doing this for you. Somewhere in the world, there's a little 8-year-old girl who dreams about being a criminal. We're doing it for
God.
her.
It was
And
so
it's like,
good.
oh, like, yes, yes, you are.
Like that was it. Like that was it. That was the
Oh!
scene that said, yes, this was a movie made for and with women and powerful
Yes.
women. Like that was the scene. It's not the whole movie. They just culminate in just one 5-second scene in a perfectly given
Exactly.
speech.
Yep.
Also, did you notice that basically every celebrity cameo was a woman that spoke?
Yes. Yep.
They have some guys in the background, but the only ones that spoke
were
women.
Women. Yes. Yep. Yes, I did.
including Katie Holmes just randomly is at that table when she starts to throw up. I didn't recognize anyone else at that table. It's just Katie Holmes is just like, "Are you okay?" And we're like, "Wait, you're Katie Holmes. What are you doing sitting at this table, Katie Holmes?"
That was the coolest part, where it's like, oh, so that kind of brings in that Julia Roberts-esque part. Is like, yeah, we're celebrities, but we're in this movie, but we're playing celebrities in this fake world.
Right.
But we're still ourselves. Like, it was cool.
So
it was a cool little.
bad.
You want to say like homages to the original. That's arguably an homage. Having them.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Actually, having Katie Holmes in that scene is one because when you meet Brad Pitt in Ocean's 11, I didn't even notice this the first time I watched it. That's how bad I am at noticing these things, and was like 10 years ago. The first time you meet Brad Pitt, he's running the poker.
Yep.
The like under the table poker lessons, but he's doing it with all teen celebrities,
Yep.
which I didn't really click in my head. But
Yeah.
it's Shane West, Topher Grace, Holly Marie Combs from Charmed, who's the only woman in that scene. I will point out.
Michael Cera is Michael. No.
The guy from Seventh Heaven that I never remember the name of, and I think there's one other. But anyway,
I was gonna say Michael Cera, but that's a different movie. There is a different movie where Michael Cera is playing himself and like being taught by some person something. Anyways, that was a sentence.
But yeah, I just love. But I was just like, oh, okay, so that was their cute way of homaging to that, and also like it makes way more sense because she's a celebrity at a friggin' gala event. She would be at this table, and also she's a concerned human being because she's like, oh God, you look like you're about to puke.
Yeah, I just, there were so many. You know what was also really nice thinking about it? You mentioned the thing about Brad Pitt always eating, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is quintessential. Like, if you know something about the Ocean's movies, you know about that. Well, at least you should know about that little trope. And I mean, there's other things, but that is a big, part of the Ocean's movies, is that he is eating every second. Arguably, for context, Lou is arguably the Brad Pitt of the Ocean's 8 women. And
yes.
Kate Blanchett, who plays Lou, is chewing gum the entire movie. And it's like, this is beautiful. Because here's the thing about chewing gum. It can be a really ugly thing. There's a reason why you don't chew gum in like public displays of like you don't chew gum when you're doing a presentation. You don't chew gum when you're in at like an important thing. But like the fact that she's just chewing gum this entire time is marvelous to me. And the fact that Daphne, Anne Hathaway, chews gum in the same manner is like just thank you. Thank you for paying attention to that mise en scène. Thank you for writing that into the script. Maybe they didn't. Maybe it was improv. But like thank you for that being there. Because
I have a strong feeling that the other writer had a lot to do with that. Because I looked this up because I was like, now I need to know who actually wrote and directed this movie. So, guy that directed this is the guy that directed Pleasantville, actually.
Okay.
And a couple of other things, but actually not a lot, not a huge thing, like 10 movies at the most, and if that, and really like Pleasantville was like his first one, and that was the most memorable. And then it was also written by him and a woman. And I can guarantee you that that woman probably did a lot of like help with the stage and direction and stuff, because this just like so many, every scene of this movie just reads like okay, like this is like it has a woman's touch to be simplistic about it, but I was trying not to be.
No, I get you. I get what you're saying.
I mean, not to throw shade on the guy that directed either. I'm sure he's also great, and the cinematographer I'm sure are great, but I just feel like this movie just does so well this idea of it is a woman's movie about women without it, like you said, being in your face.
Exactly.
So.
And but that was also, if it's also a way to connect, Daphne and Lou in a way, and Daphne to the whole heist, because it's like, oh crap, like they're chewing gum. Something's gonna happen. Something is going to connect them. That's just old. That's like old script writing. Like, it's not script writing 101 because it's not really used anymore, but like
classical
it is like a classical, like if these two characters have something in common, you know that they're meeting up at some point, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether one is killing the other one, whether one is hooking up with the other, like something is happening between them. And it's not a thing that a lot of people notice anymore, in my opinion. Like, it's not used, but it's a really nice little mechanic that can be used in screenwriting if you use it correctly, and they did. And it's just like, you have Lou, who is this tough badass of a woman, and then you have Daphne, who is a badass, but it's like this underlying, because she kind of has to have that air to her. She kind of has to put on.
She's a much more understated person.
Like she has to kind of wear that, I'm a superstar mask. But the fact that she's still chewing gum, which, like I said, in society is ugly. Like, it kind of holds on to that toughness of hers. And it's like, this is beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Ocean's 8. Thank you for Ocean's 8 for existing.
So when Ocean's 9 comes out, which of the 5 extra characters do you think will show up? Because there's definitely 14 people that make this thing work.
So I did want to talk about that. I have one more thing to talk about, but I will talk about this first. So you were like, this is a backdoor, like Ocean's 14.
This is secretly for Ocean's 14, because when you do the math, it actually takes them 14 people to do this. Starting with Rihanna's little sister, who gets them the magnetizer thing.
Yes.
They bring in Yen from the other movies as a nice little cameo.
Which is
and
great.
Then they took 4 older women to go and sell the jewels. Who are all, I looked them up recently and already forgot them, and I apologize, because the whole joke is that these are 4 very, these are 4 classically feminist, powerful actors, and I don't remember their names whatsoever. They're all very powerful, like big name female celebrities from the 60s and 70s and stuff like that. And so like I was like, are you kidding me? It took them 14 people and no one's gonna make that joke.
Yeah. Are you counting James Corden in that?
I was not.
Okay, so are you counting not Anne Hathaway, are you counting Sandra Bullock in that?
Yes, because there were 7 of them, and then Anne Hathaway made 8. And then Yeah, Rihanna's little sister, um, the four old women, and I had this out right in my head because there was six extra people after
S-
the eight.
So,
Yeah, the four women and Rihanna's little sister and Yen coming back. That's what it was. So
mhm,
that's yeah. So that makes 14 if you do the math there.
yeah.
Arguably, yes, James Corden as well.
So here's the thing interesting that Devin kind of brought to my attention, but I kind of like he said it and I was like, yeah, no crap. Like yes, this is true. Um if you do the math in the earlier movies and if you do it in this one, Oceans is possessive.
I see what you
Hmm.
mean.
So
Yes.
Danny and Debbie do not count when you count the characters.
Okay.
Okay? So, when you do that, when you take Debbie Ocean out, you have Lou, and this is just the 8. You have Lou,
Right.
you have Rose, who is
Um, Helena
uh
Bottom Carter. Is that?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. You have Constance, you have Nine Ball, you have Mindy's character's name, who I don't remember her name.
Same with Sarah Paulson. I don't remember Sarah Paulson.
Sarah Paulson's name was Tammy.
Okay.
So there's 6 right there. I'm forgetting someone.
Uh,
Daphne. Okay. So there's your 7, right? Now that 8th one, you would think you would include Sandra Bullock, but you actually include Yen
okay.
because without him, they on
Right. They
the
don't
night
get the other jewels.
on
Right.
the night of the heist without Yen, they don't get the other jewels. They don't pull off the whole heist.
You are absolutely correct.
So, and as well as what you're saying, so then your extra characters, right? The 4 women at the auction. Okay. You have, so there's our 8. Hold on. So the 4 women at the auction. You have James Corden.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have Nine Ball's little sister. And I think that's it. I can't think of who else you would add.
If you are taking out Debbie and you're putting in James Corden, that makes up for that loss.
Yes,
And
exactly.
Else is okay.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So yeah. So there's your 14, right? Did I do that math right? Yeah. So 8.
I think so. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Cool. So yeah, you have those 6 extra people. So yeah, you make the 14, but those 6 extra people, they're not getting a cut of what that heist was. Yen is probably getting a cut. So that's another reason why you count him in the Ocean's 8.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
But like
Yes.
James Corden can't get a cut, really. Cause their way of like giving him the cut of the heist is basically like, we're gonna get you this guy so that you fulfill your job as the insurance officer guy.
Right.
You know, like we're going to help you and you're going to help us by stepping away from our trail and putting this guy in jail who doesn't really need to be in jail because he didn't do anything, but still.
But he did stuff the first time. Like we all.
He did stuff the first time. He was a jerk
stuff
anyways.
before and then framed her to go into prison. Yeah.
Yeah. The 4 women aren't getting a cut. They're not getting that kind of cut, the 38 million or whatever. They're not getting that cut. They're probably getting like $50, maybe $100, but that's not. You don't count that. And then Nine Ball's little sister is basically
probably just has for that one scene.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So yeah. So that is it's crazy, but it's also crazy that if you do count those 6 extra people, it's Ocean's 14. It's great. It's great both ways.
I love that idea that they were just like we secretly had 14 people involved here
Exactly.
just as a little dig.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. But I love
man.
that because you're watching as, you know, you have Debbie in there and it's like, okay, so it's not Ocean's 8 yet. Where's this 8th person? And then you have Yen show up and it's like, of course Yen shows up.
Yeah, I like
because
that he was the
he's
one.
the
He was the one
best.
because Yeah, I like that he's the one that shows up because yes, he is the
To
one where
help.
arguably out of the rest of them has an actual skill set that can be utilized in more than one way. Like
Exactly.
everyone else in those movies, like aside from like Dan Cheadle. Is that Dan Cheadle?
It's
Oh my God.
Don
Don
Cheadle.
Cheadle. Thank you. I was like, wait, why is Dan in my head? Like
Danny
he is
Ocean.
like their equipment. Yeah, probably. He's like their equipment expert. That's like big with
Hmm.
explosives and equipment and stuff like that. That could be used possibly.
Yeah.
But really, like most of them are just con men,
Yeah.
and they're just kind of doing different cons the whole time.
Yeah.
So the idea that you bring back Yen of all of them, who's like that makes sense.
Hmm.
And it's not. It's a character that I think everybody who saw the originals would recognize,
Oh,
but
of
is not
course.
like I'm so happy that Danny didn't show up at the end of that movie.
Oh yeah,
I
no,
am so
that's
happy that when she
oof.
sits down in the morgue
Uh huh.
and looks at that thing, all she just toasts to him and that's it.
Yeah,
And
that
there isn't
ending is
like a thing where
perfect.
she's sitting there and then like he comes off
Hmm.
from the side even like as has like one line off screen or something.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. Just boom, cut to black.
Hmm.
I think that's the best way they could have ended that.
Yeah. Oh, agreed. And I want so badly there to be a 9 and a 10, like so badly, because here's the thing, Danny's alive. I want Danny to be alive,
It
just
makes
so
sense for him to
it
be
just
alive.
yeah, exactly. But I just want that moment in Ocean's 10 to be like, "What's up, Debbie? What's up, Deb?" It's like, you fucking bastard. I don't know.
Yeah,
I just
because that's
want
the
that
thing. If
moment.
he is alive, you don't bring him in until 10.
Oh
You don't
no,
bring him in for 9.
no, of course
I
not.
also really like that with that whole third act
Hmm.
being James Corden as the insurance person doing the investigation, you
Yeah.
eliminate that possibility of a sequel. That could have been the sequel.
Oh yeah.
That could have
Oh.
that could have been the sequel and it would have been okay, cool, but it's so connected to the
Mm,
first one that it just feels like you're kind of rehashing stuff. All the like by doing what they did, they open up Oceans 9 and 10 to be just their own thing.
exactly. Just more time with the characters.
Exactly.
Also,
Absolutely.
that whole James Corden thing, like it started and I was like, where is this going? And it's so quick. That resolution happened so quick. So like that whole insurance fraud bit of that movie could have been drawn out for so much longer, and it's like 10 minutes.
And I love the
And
fact
it's like, this is
that he
great.
knows her. I love the fact that
Yes.
he's not a
Yeah.
cop, so he
Mhm.
doesn't have the like
He
weird
doesn't care.
conceit. Right, he doesn't have the weird conceit that he has to arrest her. He doesn't have to do that
Yeah.
as an insurance person. And so you get this idea that like, oh, there's a history here
Mhm. Yeah, it's
of
great.
just like, oh
Is that
God,
and that
sorry to hear about your brother. How's
Mhm.
the family? How's
Yeah.
things going?
I mean, they refer to him. Lou refers to him as he's basically family at this
Yeah.
point. So it's like, oh man, it's just levels upon levels, and it's just beautiful. Go see Ocean's 8. I know we just spoiled it, but go see it. Go see it.
uh,
Oh, the other thing that I was gonna say, I was trying to get this out earlier, but I couldn't like manifest the words that I wanted to use. The other thing that it does really well, what I was trying to say was, you have Rihanna and you have Aquafina, right? So you have
Right.
Nine Ball and Constance, who, like I said, not your typical, I don't know, woman, I guess. I don't know.
not
They're not
not
typically dressed like,
not classically white thin
yes,
brunette women
yes,
or blonde women.
exactly.
Like yeah.
you have them, and they're dressed in baggy clothes, and they're comfortable. They're two very comfortable characters. In a lesser movie, there would have been a scene where those two characters, when there's that beautiful, fantastic choreographed scene where Tammy walks in with all of their gowns, which we don't get to see the gowns until the very end.
That's true.
But she comes in, she walks in with the gowns, right? And they're all zipped up. They're in their, tailored, little, I don't know what you would call those, sheaths. They're dress sheaths.
Are you talking about just the garment bags that
Yeah,
they're
there we go. Garment bags.
Oh
I
man.
couldn't think of the word garment bags. But you have that scene, and people are very excited to get theirs. Aquafina, Constance I think she's just handed hers. And then Nine Ball gets hers, and she's like, whatever. Like, she does not give any shits that she was just handed probably a gorgeous looking gown, right? A lesser movie, would have had a scene where those two characters would have been bumbling around, not knowing what to do in a dress.
Or would have made them scoff at those dresses for like 3 scenes and then put them
Exactly.
on at the end and be like,
Exactly.
oh, actually, I'm hot and beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't, yeah, you're right.
And they don't
do
do
any of
that. It's just Nine Ball and Constance know that for the sake of the heists, we have to look stunningly beautiful at the end of this. And you even have Constance being a waiter at the Met Gala, and she's dressed in like a tuxedo and she has her hair hidden. So it's not like, you know, but she, at the end of the movie, she still looks kind of comfortable in that dress. She doesn't look as comfortable as the other ones, but she knows what she has to do in order to get this heist out, and she
Right, they don't make the
rocks
idea
it.
of like
they both rock their dresses and look gorgeous at
they don't
the
make
end.
the idea that being like dressing tomboyish regularly means that you don't get to dress feminine sometimes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
like I said, and I feel bad using the term lesser film, but it really is. Like that's seen all the time. And it's like a really overdone, annoying trope at this point, for me at least. Because it's like, no, that's not it. I don't wear heels every day of my life, but if you give me a pair of heels, I know how to walk in them. Like, you know? So, yeah. It was good.
So,
it was great.
Yes, it was an excellent film. I do hope they get more. I was just looking up box office numbers because I know it did really well. I was just curious.
Yeah,
so $70 million estimated budget, and it just passed 100 million this third weekend.
Yeah, so
in America, and then also already has made like 70 million outside.
Oh, it crushed it in
yeah,
domestic.
it's made 170 million dollars already.
Not
It's made its money back. It's a great thing.
Yeah.
I just hope the fact that I know you didn't listen to the senior report yet this week.
Not yet, no.
Sister report, the senior report,
the sister senior
week,
report.
But they did talk about the fact that it just seems like nobody is talking about this movie, even though it's just as big. I would actually say the same thing happened to Girls Trip with Jada Pinkett Smith and Tiffany Haddish and stuff. That was also another movie that made back its budget and blew it away and was like #1 for 2 weeks, and all of his stuff that came and went and just completely didn't get any coverage despite that fact. Again, how society views women. So I am hoping that the right people are paying attention to the fact that this is a moneymaker and go, yes, we're going to continue with this plan. Like clearly by going back to Ocean's 8, they clearly had a plan of 8, 9, 10.
Yes.
And then doing something possibly, with Ocean's 14 going forward and bringing the two together or something. Who knows? But they at least clearly had a trilogy plan for these guys.
Oh, so, I certainly hope so, because like I said, these characters, I fell in love with these characters, just like I fell in love with the characters from Ocean's 11. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm interested, and I'm hoping for that. But that is probably going to be it for us this week. I'm so glad to be back talking stuff.
Me too. Yes. It's good.
So if you want to find us on Twitter, we're at sayreportjr. Find us on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. It's iTunes. They call it Apple Podcasts. It's iTunes. Yeah. Find us there. Rate us and bump us up, whatever list that bumps us up. I don't know. I'm never going to actually look into what that is. I just know it's important. And yeah, if you want to find us, please. Again, at sayreportjr on Twitter. I'm at Zerwisky if you want to find me.
And if you want to find me, I am at Dale's Brain, and it is Dale with a Y, Dayle. If you don't put the Y, you're going to follow some other person who apparently has the same exact Twitter handle as me.
And anyway. You'll be very confused. Why are you talking? I didn't even see Ocean's 8. What is going on?
Oh, that'd be great. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the episode, and yeah, like Zach said, you can shout out at us. If you have anything to say, tweet at us. Is that the vernacular? Is that how you use that?
I think so.
Tweet at us.
Twit at us. I don't know.
Twit at us? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just sounds mean.
If it was a YouTube video, it'd be like and subscribe down below.
Smash
that like button. Oh, God. Jeez. All right. Well, bye, everybody. Until next week.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to The Say Report with your hosts, Dale Decker and Zach Sarowik. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.